Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and coming up in just a few moments, Nick Adams is going to join us again. We've had Nick on before. He's the author of a book that has really been very popular called The American Boomerang, and we're going to talk about the G20 Summit and American exceptionalism. As you know, the president was in Australia this past week, and we want to talk to him about the G Summit, what he thought of it in general, and then about his writings and thinkings of the president. The president tonight is expected to make a national speech about his immigration policy. Basically, he'll be using executive order to give amnesty to quite a few millions of illegal aliens. But a lot of the major networks aren't going to carry that speech tonight, but he will be signing that executive order tomorrow. So perhaps Nick has some comments on that as well. So join me now. Hi, Nick. How you doing, my friend?
G'day, Perry. Great to be with you again, sir.
Yes, sir. Good to see you. Well, the G20, it was in your homeland. What'd you think?
Well, it was a pretty action-packed, jam-packed kind of event. It was on in Brisbane in the state of Queensland in Australia, and we hosted world leaders from all around the world. The President of the United States came as well, and he gave a speech at the University of Queensland to some adoring and admiring young students. It seems that he didn't have the courage to speak to perhaps what we might consider some more mainstream elements of Australian society. But overall, I think the G20 was a success, and Australia performed quite well. Climate change was not on the agenda, but President Obama firmly put it on the agenda in his speech to the University of Queensland, which many Australian commentators felt was really an effort on his part to, in a way, admonish the Australian government, which happens to be conservative, for their apparent inaction on climate change.
All right. So how did that go over? How did the citizens react to this, putting it into his agenda? Well,
it was certainly mixed. It was certainly mixed, Perry. I think that the overwhelming majority of Australians were very happy when the Conservative government only a few months ago scrapped the carbon tax, which for your viewers is essentially the same thing as a cap and trade, which was proposed back in 2009 in the United States Congress. So I think Australians were pretty disappointed to hear the president come out and basically say that, again, you know, climate change was the most important thing for us to deal with. I mean, there was a little mention of terrorism, but certainly he appeared to be playing the same card that he's been playing all along with Secretary of State John Kerry, where they have been suggesting that climate change, quite incredibly, is a far greater threat than Islamic terrorism, which, quite frankly, just boggles the mind.
All right. As you know, the president tonight's going to make a speech about using executive order to give blanket amnesty to a lot of illegals. It's interesting, you may have heard that the alphabet networks aren't going to carry the speech tonight, which is in itself very interesting. But what have you done in your country in Australia to handle the illegal immigration problem?
Well, we had a very substantial illegal immigration problem, Perry, not too long ago, actually, and the Conservative government was elected about a year ago when the Democrats of our country essentially had really messed up the whole immigration process and had basically sent out a message to people smugglers and to people that wanted to come to Australia by boat that Australian borders were wide open. And it really was open sesame there for a few years, Perry. We had over 800 boats, we had tens of thousands of people come to our country illegally, and the truth is that we really won't feel the full effects of that for many years to come. We don't know who came, we didn't vet them. I suspect quite strongly that there are a number of Western haters among that group, and that's only going to spell absolute disaster for us. But the Conservative government got in and said, look, this is an unacceptable situation. We as a country are going to determine who comes to this country and the circumstances under which they come. And from now on, if anybody comes to Australia illegally, they will not be settled here. They will not ever be allowed to live in Australia. And in the interim in the beginning, Perry, because obviously they couldn't just wave the magic wand and the boats would stop. What they did was, for people that were coming, they were given two choices. The Australian government would either fly them home at the Australian government expense, or they would be sent to an island for offshore processing, which basically meant that they would be detained for however long it took for the authorities to assess their application. So we either sent them home or we put them in detention. And that was obviously the measure that we had to implement while the message hadn't yet gone out that there was a change in government and a change in policy. So that was very effective in the short term, and now, given that that message has gone out, that if you come to Australia, you'll never get to live here and you'll be detained or sent home, nobody comes. And in over 10 months, Perry, it's been almost 1 year now, not one single illegal immigrant has arrived. And President Obama would do very well to not hail Australian gun laws, but in fact hail Australia's illegal immigration solution, rather than give the speech he proposes to give tonight.
Well, you write extensively in the American Boomerang about American exceptionalism, and tonight the president's going to give a speech, but tomorrow he's going to do something that could set off a constitutional crisis in this country. What do you think about it?
Well, it's very upsetting. It's very disconcerting. I'm disappointed that the president appears to be going down this path. Surely he knows how divisive this is going to be. I mean, the country is already more politically polarised than it's ever been, Perry. Long gone are the days when Americans only had one or two networks to choose from and everyone more or less watched and listened to the same newscast. Now, essentially, you have a blue America and a red America, and conservative Americans watch great programs like yours, and liberal Americans, I suspect, have probably some different tastes. But it is a very polarised nation right now, and President Obama is only going to add fuel to that divisive fire that rages. And I'm very disappointed he's taken this path. I think that he should really think about getting tough rather than granting amnesty to over 5 million illegals that are here. I mean, what kind of message does it send that the greatest country in the world effectively condones lawlessness? It's quite outrageous.
All right. Boy, there's lots to talk to you about, but not enough time. Your book has been very successful. Give us, those who have hearing it for the first time, called The American Boomerang. There's a picture of it there on the screen. Let me encourage you to check it out, by Nick Adams. By the way, you can correspond with Nick, nickadamsinamerica.com. That's the website. Give us a snapshot of your book.
Look, it is a best-selling book, Perry. It's been endorsed by almost the entire conservative world, from Chuck Norris, Governor Mike Huckabee, the Heritage Foundation, National Review. Lots of different people have really gotten behind this book, and I've been absolutely thrilled. The book essentially is a look at America from the outside, and it makes the case that despite what America is going through right now, it remains by far and away the greatest country in the world. And it goes through the things, Perry, that make America unique, like its love of liberty, like its individualism, like its strong Christian faith, like its libertarian instincts, its values of self-reliance and personal responsibility. And it kind of contrasts America to Europe and to Australia and to Canada and the United Kingdom, and even places where you might think America would have a lot in common with. And it turns out that America is very different and indeed exceptional. And it also outlines a 10-point plan, Perry, on what America has to do to restore itself to full potential. Because the thing is that America is the greatest country in the world, but it's not living up to its promise, it's not living up to its potential. The 10 points that I outline in the American Boomerang is to basically end the waste, pay back the debt, limit the government, axe political correctness, protect the borders, preserve Judeo-Christian traditions, end the culture of entitlement, exercise fidelity to the Constitution, and keep the peace through unquestioned military advantage. And I basically say, Perry, in the book, that if America can do all of those things, it will guarantee the American dream for another 200 years at least, and forge a generation capable of securing that dream.
Beautifully said. Nick, you're an inspiration. Thanks, my friend, and keep up the good work, and look forward to having you back often. Again, you can correspond with Nick at nickadamsinamerica.com, or look for the book, The American Boomerang, at Amazon or online at Amazon or at Barnes & Noble. It's a tremendous read. It's a must read. Thanks, buddy. God bless you, pal.
God bless you, Perry. Thank you for all you do. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Okay, we're back with Nick Adams, and he's the author of The American Boomerang, a terrific book. It's a must-read. You can pick it up at the bookstores, Amazon, online at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. There's a picture of it there on the screen, talking about American exceptionalism. You know, Nick, you know what's so interesting is that the very fiber of what America is all about has been tested in this administration, and we're still somewhat in a shock and awe. But I'm beginning to sense the feeling in America, especially as a result of the last election cycle, that America may be able to stomach an impeachment if this guy continues to go lawlessly down this track. What do you think?
Well, there's certainly been a big shift in mood, Perry. I think that's undeniable. I think that's undoubtable. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, President Obama really got his clock clean, and deservedly so. It was really an election about the president and how he was performing. I think it's fair to say that the vast majority of Americans now realise that the President of the United States is arrogant, aloof and incompetent. And essentially they were voting to punish the party that the President is associated with. So given that shift in mood and depending on the reception now that this speech that the President proposes to give tonight on amnesty, how that goes down, I think you could well be right that Americans may have the stomach for impeachment. My only concern in terms of whether or not that would be the case is that you will have a mainstream media. You've already pointed out that the alphabet networks will not be broadcasting that speech, which speaks volumes, really. So my concern, Perry, is that the mainstream media will be carrying the water for the president. And as long as they're doing that, it may be difficult to build up the appetite that is needed by ordinary, everyday Americans for the impeachment process.
Nick, why? I've been scratching my head all morning. Why do you think the alphabet networks are boycotting the speech?
Well, I think they're boycotting the speech because their man, their boy, is not going to give a speech that is going to go down very well with the American people. They're protecting him. I mean, they're like the college pal that carries the backpack. I mean, they don't want to see the president at all embarrassed. They don't want to see him diminished. They don't want to see him in any way criticised. And this is their way, I suspect, of continuing the protection racket that they have run for him ever since he even intimated that he was interested in the presidency of the United States. So I think this is continuing a tradition that we've seen for a long time. If you have a look, Perry, at all of the scandals that have plagued and beset this White House, whether it's IRS, whether it's Benghazi, Fast and Furious, the alphabet networks were largely missing in all of those as well. So really, this is merely a continuation of the protection racket and the media acting as President Obama's mafia.
Okay. let's get back to some things in your book. But first of all, what do you think is the most dangerous threat to America now? I mean, we have an economic problem, we got an immigration problem, we got an Ebola problem, we got an economy problem, and we got a terrorist problem. How would you prioritize all these things?
Yeah, look, America's got more problems than a math book, Perry. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But I would say that the two greatest threats facing America are socialism and radical Islam. And they are the two ideas, if you like, that have shown a great ability throughout history to influence people and to win people over. And that's why they serve as the greatest threats to Christians and to Christian civilization. And whether we go down the socialist path or whether we go down the Islamist path, all the attending benefits of Christian civilization, like liberty, a sound economy, all of those things go straight out the door. And that's why it's so important for all of us to really stand up, protect, fight and defend America against both of these threats. We see radical Islam on the march. We see Islam on the march in Europe demographically. I mean, it is a very disturbing world that we live in right now. If you are a straight, white, middle-class Christian male like me, you're not allowed a voice. But if you are a gay Ecuadorian wind turbine engineer that happens to get on his hat and pray to Mecca every day, Perry, I mean, the world's your oyster. So we live in a very morally inverted world, unfortunately, right now, and that's why we've got to do everything we can do to defeat both of those forces.
All right, so what is the American Christian church to do? We've been pushed into a corner. We are now the problem, not the answer, according to society and culture. At the same time, we also possess the real solution to America. What would you say if you had all the pastors in one room in America? What would you say to them?
Christian Renaissance is the only thing that's going to save America, without a doubt. It's the only thing that can save America. Christianity, enhancement of Christian values. That's what America needs right now. That's what's missing. I mean, America, among other things, has got a character problem. And I think that stems profoundly and distinctly from its loss of Christian faith and heritage. Christians have got to get out of the pews and into the voting booths. They've got to go and knock on doors. I mean, the Christians are the easiest people in the world to...
Oh, we lost him. Sorry about that. Let me just say the book is entitled The American Boomerang, and there's a picture of it on the screen. You know, it's not a long read, and he does deal with the 10 points in there that he talked about earlier, and they're simple things that need to be done in order to save America and turn it around. Again, the book is entitled The American Boomerang by Nick Adams, and if you want to correspond with Nick, his website is nickadamsinamerica.com. Again, nickadamsinamerica.com. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Well, good morning and welcome back to Focus Today. Earlier, our own Steve Johnson had a chance to talk to Dave Allen Johnson. Now, a couple of Johnsons getting together. Well, kind of interesting. One's a producer and a director, the other one's a news guy. Well, anyway, they talked about a movie entitled none other than Coffee Shop, of course. All right, let's join Steve and Dave.
A few weeks ago, we talked with Kevin Sorbo, who's been in a lot of films that you have seen, as well as some upcoming stuff. You start looking at the bios of some of these actors, and I'll tell you, they have finished one project, but they're on several others. And we've got a guest today who is also a friend of Kevin Sorbo. This is like the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but it's Kevin Sorbo this time. Dave Johnson is with us, and he's in Iowa now, but he spends a whole lot of time in Hollywood. Glad to have you with us, Dave.
Great to be with you, and thanks for having me. And I live not very far from Kevin, and we play golf together sometimes. So
I was gonna ask you, how's he doing?
I've been on the road. I've been traveling, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So I haven't seen him in probably a month, but. The last time I talked to him, he was doing well.
Well, that's good. You know, you start looking at some of the things that you're involved in, and if you don't have a great day-timer, I would imagine you have a hard time keeping track of what have I just finished, what project is still in the work, and what do I have to start working on right now. Now, you've been a producer for 20 years now, right?
Yeah, I started as an actor. I did that for about 8 years, made my living as an actor. Then I started to write, and then the writing exploded. So really, I view myself first and foremost as a writer now. But then because of writing, especially I was doing a lot of movies and TV, a lot of TV, and I became a showrunner, producer, writer. And so did that for a long time. And then I started to direct was the last thing, but I've been doing that now for 10, 15 years as well. So I kind of... It's all that training has sort of set me up for all these different projects that I have going on.
Well, you're really on the fast track. We see about a lot of successful Hollywood actors who want to become directors, and that's like a huge jump for them. It sounds like you've just kind of eased into all of these types of things, doing what a lot of actors would have liked to have done, and yet here you go.
Yeah, it's been a great run. I've been doing this for quite a while, and at very high levels, and I'm very blessed and it's just kind of interesting how it's sort of progressed from one to the next, and I kind of feel like every time I'm ready for the next step, something happens. So
okay,
that's a good thing.
You got a film that's coming up that I want to talk about, but I still want to give a little bit of background. You've worked with Steven Spielberg for the ABC drama High Incident. You've worked with I'm trying to look here and see what house haven't you worked with? Disney, Paramount, Sony, Warner Brothers, DreamWorks, MGM, Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS. Is there any one that you haven't worked for yet that isn't a major Hollywood studio?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
Well, that's pretty good. So you've got the card to get into all of these things. You also executive produced October Baby that was out last year, I think it was, right?
About a year and a half ago now, and then also Mom's Night Out, which was out this year.
Oh, I didn't know you were involved in that. Well, it's okay. It's hard to keep up with all of that type of thing. All right, let me. I want to give a preview of this. It's kind of a trailer. It's really a sneak preview of this movie that's coming up on Up TV, and it includes Kevin Sorbo, John Lovitz. It's great to see him. So many of us remember him from Saturday Night Live and then what he's done since then, and also Laura Vandervoort from Smallville and others. This is called Coffee Shop, and it is on Up TV coming up this weekend. Let's get a preview.
Those of us in the world of dating are warriors, competing on an often brutal battlefield.
I'll take the steak. Bloody.
This time last year, I had the perfect boyfriend. Handsome, successful, attentive, every girl's dream. But that was then. And this is now.
She keeps dating these losers. If you love me, you would help me help her.
Hey, how'd opening night go?
The play tanked worse than the last one. They hated it.
No, hate is such a strong word. They loathed it.
This is quite the pep talk.
I know you've got another one in there.
What if I don't?
Why don't you just come down here for a while? Get out of the city.
But there is one thing that keeps even us wounded warriors in the battle. Hope. But there really is a perfect someone out there for everyone.
What's a guy like you doing in a town like this?
Oh, wait, let me guess. Research for your next big hit.
Investment banking's just my day job. I'm a playwright too.
Is that right? We should do lunch.
I will have a cup of tea.
So you have something against coffee?
Something's going around.
Want to dance?
Sure. So, what are you gonna do? There's nothing to do. He left and I stayed. That's it. If that was it, why is he writing you a message saying he needs to see you? Patrick. Did you see her face? It's definitely still there. Isn't it beautiful?
Breathtaking.
Last year, we made the biggest mistake of our lives, and this is our chance to fix it.
Just because things aren't going the way you planned doesn't mean they aren't going the way they should.
If there's anything that's going to make you feel better right now, it's in that coffee shop.
Laura Vandervoort, Corey M. Grant, Rachel Hendricks, Jason Berkey, with John Lovitz and Kevin Sorbo. The world premiere movie, Coffee Shop. Love is Brewing. Only on Uplifting Entertainment.
This is the perfect choice.
Well, that is coming up this Sunday. You know, I see a whole lot of things in there that probably you may have had an influence in. A writer who has a dry spell. It sounds like something a writer could end up having. I like that one line in there. No. They didn't hate it. They loathed it. I mean, that's I like those kind of lines. The only thing is I didn't see Morgan Freeman in there. What's up with that? Isn't he supposed to be in just about every film like this?
This was the one we could, he was too booked, we couldn't get him.
He was doing Dolphin 2 or something, I guess, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, Dave, I want to ask you, this obviously, it's kind of got a chick flick feel to it. It's got a relationship thing. It's got what happens when life doesn't quite go the way you want and you think I'm going to go into a downward spiral and all the rest. I mean, this is kind of a family-friendly type movie. Wouldn't you put it in that category, perhaps?
Yeah, it's there's nothing objectionable for the family, but we really set out, we wanted to make a romantic comedy. We wanted to make a movie for you
have guests. Are they moving your furniture out? Is it?
Yeah, they're telling me I have to leave now. No, well, I'm good.
If it's Spielberg, bring him in and sit him down, okay? But that's okay. Keep going.
Okay. And so we wanted to make a movie that was, for adults, for romantic, for women particularly. I mean, it was really for women and Christian women particularly. Now, what I've really been surprised at is how much men love it. They really do. And we knew the women would love it, but men like it too. And it's a romantic comedy, got touching, heartfelt moments, uplifting. A lot of that kind of dialogue that you were talking about is throughout. I've seen it now with about 1,500 people in a bunch of different screenings. We did a theatrical run in Alabama. And, huge laughs all the way through, lots of tears, but happy tears, good tears. It's not a sad movie. It's uplifting. And huge response and applause and standing ovations and things at the end. So we're very, very happy with how it turned out. And the cast, as you saw, is just really appealing. Now, and two of them you didn't mention was Rachel Hendricks and Jason Berkey. And they play a couple in this. And they were the two leads of October Baby and played kind of a boyfriend-girlfriend in that. So that was really fun.
Oh, I gotcha. So was this something that you had a direct hand in getting some of these actors and actresses you have worked with in the past? Is this your overall vision of what you wanted to see happen?
Exactly. This was a script that was written by Teresa Preston, and then John Irwin came in and worked with her. And so when it came to me, it was sort of in a rough shape. And so Teresa and I started to work on the script, and they co-wrote October Baby. And so we started to work on the script, and I just loved it. And then when we got done, John and Andy Irwin were working on in the middle of Mom's Night Out, so they couldn't do it. And they said, Dave, you should direct this. You love this. You get this. And I said, I'd love to direct this. This is exactly the kind of movie I want to direct. It takes a bunch for me to sort of get to direct because it means it's all in consuming and you got to travel and there's a lot of things going on. Where writing, it's a little easier. But I said, this one I want to do. So we went down the list of, who was in it. We always knew, in fact, when they wrote it, it was really for Rachel Hendricks to play Becky, the sister of Laura Vandervoort. I knew Kevin, so I went to him personally and said, hey, I got a role. I think it'd be a lot of fun for you. So he said yes. Laura Vandervoort, I had known She had done a couple of my shows. I had some success with a bunch of TV shows, Doc, Sue Thomas, FBI, some of your people know. And she's from Toronto, and we shot those in Toronto. And so she had done both of those shows 10 years ago. Since then, you know, she's done V and Smallville and a bunch of other big stuff. And so I just thought she'd be perfect for this. And I was thrilled when she said yes. And then Jason Berkey was sort of the last. We said, you know, could we pair Jason up with Rachel again? Would that be a good thing, or would people not like that from October Baby? But I'm so glad we did, because they had such great chemistry, and they're very different in this movie than they were in the others. They're very funny. It's a funny movie that women for sure really love, but men really do too, and that's kind of surprised me.
I just want to mention to our viewers and listeners, we're talking to Dave Johnson, the director and producer of Coffee Shop, that is airing this Sunday. I have a question for you. You know, we're seeing the kind of the lack of influence of the Alphabet Network, ABC, CBS, NBC, cable, and some are going direct, of course, to video. A lot of productions not even hitting the theaters, not even going to any of the channels that way. So we've got a diverse style, I guess you'd say, trends, where we've got like Breaking Bad, Walking Dead, Underworld, Dracula. Well, you got that dark element. Then we have the family-friendly side that seems to also have a lot of an audience. Is this, where are we now? Is family-friendly movies, are they drawing a lot of people to as viewers this time? Are we in that kind of a trend, do you think?
Yeah, you know, they always work. I mean, you go back in time, if you do them well, they've always worked. There's never been a case where they don't. Now, what happens is oftentimes people don't respect those movies, and so they just say, well, this doesn't offend anybody, so we'll put it out as a family-friendly movie. And you go, that's not what it's about. This has to inspire, it has to entertain, it has to, you know, make people laugh, cry, care. And so if you do it well, they work. And there's not that many outlets who want it or who are asking for it. Everybody's sort of saying, oh, we want to push the dark envelope as far as we can. And you go, well, that's great, that's fine, you know, it's your network, you can do whatever you want to. But, you know, we got a lot of that, and there's not as much of the positive and stuff. And so when a network like Up came along, Up TV, I love those guys, and if your viewers don't know them, they should check them out, because they really want to do this stuff. I mean, Up stands for uplifting, and they want uplifting, entertaining, good time. Again, that doesn't mean you can't have feelings, that it can't be deep. It can. But it means that you're going to, at the end of the movie, you're going to feel better than you did at the beginning of the movie. And for me, that's what it's about. All
right, Dave, you know, we could talk so much more. I find it fascinating, kind of the inner workings of what goes on to make movies like this and what the trends are. We'll have to let it go at that. Coffee Shop, Sunday during the evening. You can check it out. Dave Johnson, director, producer of a whole lot of stuff, including Coffee Shop. Thanks for being with us.
Hey, thanks for having me. And they can go to uptv.com and see behind the scenes and previews and things if they want. And I think they'll enjoy it.
All right. When you see Kevin, tell him we said hi, okay?
I will for sure. He's a good guy.
All right, check it out. Coffee Shop. All right, coming up next, Terry Rasmussen's in with us, and we'll be talking about Redemption Ridge coming up in just a few moments.
Hi, I'm Daniel, and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Okay, we're back, and delighted to have in the studio with us today Terry Rasmussen. He is the president of Redemption Ridge, and we want to talk to him about Redemption Ridge and also their upcoming Christmas at the Ridge dinner and auction. We'll give you the details on that. But Terry, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. This is quite the change here.
Yeah,
you guys are doing great.
We're up and going, and got a lot of work yet to do, but it's coming along. Hey, listen, for those who are hearing the term Redemption Ridge for the first time, tell us about it.
Redemption Ridge is a local nonprofit here in the fight against human trafficking. What we're seeking to do is open a home, a shelter for minor teenage victims of human trafficking. Girls, the average age of entry into human trafficking is junior high age, which is a forced prostitution. And they're lured, whether they're homeless or from perfectly good families, they're lured away into human trafficking. And there is no facility in the state of Oregon for these girls when they're rescued out of it or the cops come across and find them. So there's very few beds nationally for these types of girls. And we're seeking to get one here in Oregon because Oregon is actually one of the leaders in the nation in human trafficking. The I-5 corridor, and our Constitution is such that it's hard to legislate laws against human trafficking.
Wow, wow. So. All right, well, let's talk about the upcoming dinner and auction. This is your big event, and it's going to be held when?
It's going to be held December 9th, Tuesday evening at the Country Club,
Rogue
Valley Country Club. And we're going to give an update on what's going on, have some testimonies from some local moms whose girls have been trafficked or lured away. Senator Alan Bates will be speaking. He was very instrumental in helping get SB 673 passed a year ago, which did put some teeth into human trafficking laws, sex trafficking laws here in the state, put some teeth into the buyers of these girls, and gave law enforcement more tools to work with. So we're going to have him give us an update on legislative issues and what's going on that way.
Wow.
We'll have, you know, an auction that evening as well. It's our major fundraiser of the year. So we're looking to raise funds that evening.
And can people still get tickets?
Oh, they can. They can go to redemptionridge.com.
All right.
They can buy individual tickets, or a better way to do it is to host a table and invite your friends.
All right.
That's a great way to do it.
Check it out, redemptionridge.com, okay? redemptionridge.com. Well, how big is the problem in Southern Oregon?
It's big. They don't come out and tell you they're out there.
Yeah,
so
right.
You got to find them. But they're big. We had a couple of situations. We're getting a lot of calls from different community members, organizations, law enforcement. We've become the entity to go to in that regard, and we are placing girls elsewhere, out of state, literally, because there's no homes in the state. We've been hauling girls 10 hours away to some facilities up and down the West Coast, wherever we can find a bed for them. We had one situation, we got a call one day, and somebody who works in an emergency department at a local hospital gives us a call and says, I was at one of your presentations, was shocked at what I learned, and now we've got signs of a girl in here that looks like she may have been trafficked. Can you help us out? And so that's where we step in, start helping them with identifying the problem. Sure enough, this girl had been trafficked. Law enforcement got involved, and we were involved with the situation. So these girls don't go to family physicians. If they get injured bad enough, they end up in the emergency room, and usually the pimp, the trafficker, is somewhere nearby, and he just wants her in there long enough to fix whatever's wrong and yank her out and get her back to work. So we were able to intervene in that situation. That girl was being trafficked locally right out of a home here.
Really? Now, trafficking suggests that they move them around.
They do. They move them every few days. It keeps law enforcement from being able to zero in and track where they are. It also keeps the girls disoriented so they can't build relationships. Interstate 5 is a major trafficking corridor from San Diego to the Canadian border. They move the girls up and down I-5 over through Vegas, Reno, that area. And Medford is a typical drop-off, stop-off point. Anywhere you're going to have men, you're going to have human trafficking. So it doesn't matter if it's here, Klamath Falls, Bend, Portland. Portland is considered one of the major hubs in America for human trafficking.
You know, I heard where a state changed the emphasis. Instead of selling sex, they put the crime on buying sex.
It was Sweden, actually. It was a country. And they're the only country in the world.
Country, that's right.
They dropped the trafficking problem by 80%. What they did is they criminalized the buyer.
Yeah.
They allow the prostitution side of it, but they criminalized the buying of it, and it dropped it from tens of thousands of women being trafficked down to a few hundred in the nation.
Come over here? I mean, it seems so interesting.
You think it would be a very simple fix for legislators, but for whatever reason, constitutionally or whatever, it doesn't seem to be that simple in America.
Your goal is to have a home
Yes.
An undisclosed location where you can rescue these girls and nurture them back to life, so to speak.
Exactly.
How are you coming on that?
It's a long process. As I was telling you before the show, if we were opening a home for adult victims of human trafficking, we'd have been open in 30 days.
Yeah.
You know, it's a pretty simple open. But when you're dealing with the minor element, the state wants to know what you're going to do with these girls. These girls have been traumatized repeatedly. It's called complex traumas. And the state wants to know that these girls are going to be safe and not traumatized again, that they're going to be in a safe environment. So you have to build the programs, you have to have therapy models. They want to know, what are you doing with these girls 24/7? They want to know what type of therapies you're going to run them through, work with them. We're going to be schooling them in-house because they're behind in their schoolwork. They want to know what that is. What does that program look like? Every program that we're going to run, they need to know all about it. Then you have to have employee handbooks have to be written, policies and procedures have to be written. How are you going to handle your drugs? You know, in-house prescriptions. Everything about the home has to be completely written so that they can look at it. There's about 12 to 13 different sections of the licensing law that you have to fulfill, and none of those sections are easy.
And there's no model out there.
No, there is no model out there.
Yeah, so you're it.
Yeah.
You're blazing new territory.
So we are gathering some resources from other homes across the nation who are willing to share. Part of that is we have to have our plans ready, our blueprints. We had a set of blueprints ready, which we showed at last year's auction event. And Perry, you've been through this. How often do your plans change?
Take a look.
We did a complete turnaround in the way the house was going to lay out this year, and we're thrilled with the way it's come out. And so we'll have a new set of plans, and this one really makes a lot more sense for what we're doing with these girls.
I just can't emphasize enough to viewers and listeners to support this and get behind it. Get a ticket or sponsor a table. You can go to redemptionridge.com, and their big banquet's coming up on the 9th of December. That's not too far away now, and sponsor a table or maybe get a ticket and go. This is incredible when you hear the stories, and it's happening right here. But is there a place for these victims now?
No. What law enforcement will typically do to retain a girl, so they go in. There was literally 2 to 3 weeks ago, I was given tips several months ago about some trafficking that was going on from a company here in Southern Oregon. We got a call. So I got a hold of a detective in Medford that we have a relationship with and let him know what was going on, and they began surveillance. And of course, you know, I don't hear anymore, just kind of listening to the people that are over in this business, watching it occur across the street from their business. And they would keep calling me, say, Terry, here, look, this is what's going on. We're watching the same car, these same girls, this stuff is going on. And I said, you need to continue to feed the police the information. Well, 2 to 3 weeks ago, there was about 15 cops crawling all over the place. Something went down there. Okay. I got a call from the company. They said, well, they have been paying attention. They're all over it. And, you know, you don't hear at the end what goes on. But because of alert citizens who have learned what human trafficking is about through presentations that we've been making, they were aware, exactly knew what they were watching. We were able to get law enforcement involved. So, yeah.
It's just amazing. It's just amazing. It's mind-boggling. How does the luring occur? How do these young girls in junior high school get lured away?
These men, typically, and there are women pimps out there, they're master psychologists. They're not clinical psychologists, but they are good at recognizing down-and-out youth, okay? So there's a lot of youth out there that come from abusive homes, and girls will typically run away from abusive homes. If there's sex abuse, if there's any kind of neglected home, they're usually running from something. Kids do not, on average, a normal home, run from a healthy home. So these guys are looking for the down and out. And you can recognize them, you can see it in their face, and they strike up a conversation with them. It doesn't matter where, they'll patrol the malls, they'll go to parties, they'll go anywhere teens are hanging out. And they're typically 10, 15 years older than the girl, and they'll strike up a conversation and tell the girl everything she's ever wanted to hear. How beautiful she is, how they love her, how they're gonna take care of her, and she thinks her ship has come in, she's lived in a life of abuse, sexual problems from family members or whatever's going on, and this guy looks like a knight in shining armor.
Yeah.
And he wins her over, and he builds a relationship with her, and he's patient with her, and when he's finally got her reeled into a strong relationship, he'll take her and turn her out. And unfortunately, the line, getting the girl a lot of times to move from where she was to trafficking, is not a hard line for the guy to get her across, because she's been exploited already within the family. He's saying, you were already doing this, why don't you make some money while you're doing it?
Wow.
And if that doesn't work, then the coercion comes, and the abuse will occur, and he will control her, or she will pay the price.
Do they, once they grab them and lure them, do they move them out of the area?
That's one of the first things they do.
Once the kidnapping is made, they're out of here.
What they want to do is they want to separate them from their support system. So any family, friends, or anything. They'll say, let's go to, and then he'll name the place. You know, is it Arizona, is it Vegas, is it California? Hey, I've got a buddy down here. Let's get out of here. That's part of the excitement, the escape. Let's get out of here.
Okay. And away they go.
And it becomes this great adventure, and her knight in shining armor is going to rescue her and get her out of here, and let's go create a life together. Well, the life that he has is all about making money for him at her expense.
All right, so the police has become more aware, the citizens have become more aware, your seminars are paying off. If a businessman can see it happening across the street, that's got to make you feel pretty good. And we're starting to bear down on this. What's your goal this year? How can we help you?
Well, our goal is to have Grace House open by the end of next summer to early fall. So we want to start the remodel in the spring, finish it sometime midsummer, and begin to trickle the girls in. You can't bring 6 girls in all at once. You'll have chaos in the house. So you begin to bring them in 1, 2 at a time, get the environment set, and then begin to bring more and more girls in.
You have qualified volunteer staff and all that?
We don't have any of that. We have a whole lot of people waiting in the wings.
Okay.
We have a whole lot of people waiting to be a part of it. We haven't needed it yet, so the training will come. But yes, we have people, and right now we're in the final throes of hiring an executive director who will really take this by the horn. Mm-hmm. You know, this has been run, Redemption Ridge has been run by people who have full-time jobs, and it's just a board of directors who've been doing this, and we've been doing it nights and weekends and days when we can, and we have come a long ways in the time that we've been doing this, and now we're going to have somebody who can really take this and run with it, and we're excited about.
Okay, I would really encourage you to go to the banquet coming up December 9th. It's be there at the Rogue Valley Country Club. You can go to redemptionridge.com and either sponsor a table or just get a couple of tickets for yourself. This is terrific, and this is happening right here in Southern Oregon. And we are one of the major thoroughfares for it because of I-5 going right through here. This is one of those issues that we all want to kind of turn our head and hope that it's not really there, you know, but it is.
It is.
And you weren't looking to get involved in this, were you?
This is not something you run out and sign up for typically, but you know, I've kind of had that defender mentality that a lot of us guys have. That's what we do, is we defend. And when you learn that there's a problem this big, you go, you can't sit still and do nothing. So, you know how the Lord has a way of doing things in your life.
Grab and you go for it.
Yeah.
Well, Terry, thanks, and for you and your team, and I know a lot of guys that work with you on this, and folks and families, and thanks for what you guys do. Again, let me encourage you to really pray about this, and if the Lord's tugging on your heart, make that call, or just go to the computer, go to redemptionridge.com and get a ticket or sponsor a table, find out what's going on, and become a part of it. And it's going to be one of these ministries that has a huge impact with very little notice. You don't want a lot of publicity. You want to be able to do it and get it done, right?
Right, that's exactly right.
And so it's kind of a stealth ministry. If the Lord's calling you to do that, get a hold of them, become a part of it. Again, redemptionridge.com. Thanks, Terry.
Thank you, Perry.
All right, we'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim, and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.